Yo, JD here, Limitless, and as you can see, we are back on F1 2021 as always, and today we are showing a full race once again. This one was from a very long time ago, actually, a good couple of months, maybe 3 months ago. You'll notice by the brake bias, the camera and everything as well. But this is a race that I really enjoyed, and I just came across it and I thought, why have I not uploaded this? Because this is actually a very good one. So I really hope you enjoy it. Give you the full race as always. So we've got 5 lights here, starting on the back row, the very back position, with the alternate strategy, letting everyone go here. And you'll be able to see we've already got one car because someone's fallen asleep, and it's just carnage as usual. So I really want to, again, I always just try and show of a true perspective or something, and that's what I always try and aim for in videos, to try and motivate, encourage people that no matter what level you're at, you can always reach your potential, become a very, very good driver. Because for me, back in the day when I first started playing F1 games in 2010, I didn't start off as a particularly good player. I really had to work very, very hard at it, and even to this day, it doesn't matter how good you are, I always feel you can never have too much experience. You can always learn something. And the way I learned was by doing races exactly like this. Doing 25% races, 5 laps. Just developing my racecraft. Just building that confidence. Testing the setups to see if they actually work. Developing sometimes a sense of racecraft. I like to think my racecraft isn't too bad these days. But just really developing that mentality, because the confidence and mentality really is the big difference between a lot of drivers. It's not just how good they are with the wheel and the pedals, it's about having that confidence and that belief in themselves as well. So I really hope videos like this do help you. Please ask me anything you want to know. If you join my Discord, you will know if you ask me questions, I do come back and answer them most of the time, pretty much all the time. So I really hope that is useful to you. But you can see, made up a lot of positions here using 56 brake bias, because this was, as I said, a long time ago here. But you can see this first half of this race, we're struggling quite a bit because this is still early phases of the game. This is why I'm actually learning how to play the game a lot more. So I was testing setups here, this one being quite oversteery. I think this is actually my Australia TT setup, which is very responsive, probably one of the more pointy setups that I actually use, and I was using a sloppy to really test to see how well it would go with the tires. And you can see we've got a lot of change of direction speed. This track isn't really used by many people at all, which I'm not really sure why, because I really enjoy driving around this track. You can see catching this guy napping a little bit, go around the outside. Does he give you respect? Yes, he does. It's always nice when people don't give you respect. Go down the inside. He tried to fight down the inside. He's still trying to go down the inside, so we're leaving some room on the inside, but we get that move done. Up into P6 now on the medium tires in the space of 3 laps. So just showing that you need to be patient, but sometimes you do need to be a bit aggressive. Take that opportunity when it comes, because particularly in high level league races or F1 esports, sometimes you don't get many opportunities. So you really do have to train yourself to recognize when you need to be aggressive and when you need to be patient. Fab Ferrari becoming victim to that corner, which is actually a very hard corner on this game. You can see we're actually sliding around quite a lot with this setup, and just the track in general, it's a very low grip kind of surface. It's a very technical track, I feel, Australia, but one I really enjoy a lot. So we're using the overtake on the exit, using ERS very nicely. Are we going to go down the inside? Is this one of these moments where we're aggressive? No, we recognize that is definitely not the right thing to do. So making sure we put him offline, try to get a good exit using the DRS, and see this opportunity to go down the inside. And now we are up into P4. Now we are behind Dripsy, iDripsy, a regular in my lobbies here, and you can see there's a bit of a gap up to the leaders. So the progress we've made so far, we've made all the right decisions so far, but we've still got plenty of this race still to go. So using the overtake button, he's going a bit defensive. So the aim here is to try and get as close as I can to try and just pressure him to put on the mistake. Doing this very nicely, making sure I overtake him here because I don't want to be held for too long. So we're deciding where we go. Are we going to go around the outside? Yes, we do. We get it done, and we actually hit the apex as well. So that was a very, very nice move here. And you can see we have EOR Hamilton up in the lead on the soft tyres. So he will be going on the mediums. And you can see we're doing a purple first sector with the aid of the DRS. And we actually have Freaky F1. Both drivers up ahead of me are very competent, very good drivers who I race with regularly. So I know that they're at a good level. So this is a good benchmark for me to see how well I'm driving, to see how well the Serpa's doing. And as I said, this is how I learn how to drive here. So right here, I'm going to try and set the fastest lap of the race. I also feel it's important to sometimes showcase your pace in the right moments, because as I said at the beginning of this video, I think mentality is a very big thing, and also the mental games at some stage is a very, very important aspect when it comes to racing. Because if you have the confidence and people can see you have the confidence, then that just puts them underneath more pressure as well. So we're using all of our ERS at the end of this lap. Let's see what we do here. We do a 22.7. So just making sure Hamilton can see on the soft tyres out of the lead, despite him having a 9-second lead. I want to show him that we have the pace. So if we can continue to close in on him, and then we go on these soft tyres, which are very, very powerful around this track, because the mediums are a very, very low grip around here, then we might even have a chance to still even win this race. And I think this is also why that I'm much, much better in the race compared to qualifying, because I do races such as this where I'm chasing people down, I'm having to be consistent, I'm making sure I'm not getting any warnings or time penalties as well, and that translates very, very well to when I do competitive racing or league racing. Because I think a lot of people, they don't actually play online that much, and they just do a lot of qualifying and they just do league races only. I feel this way, this technique, and the way I play this game, it really, really helps me in being consistent and just getting more out of myself. But you can see here now, we are closing in quite quickly on Freaky F1, but the soft tyres are still at a reasonably good pace. So that's good news for me. That shows me that the softs are a very fast tyre. So when we pit, we should be making up quite a lot of time per lap. And since we're closing in on Freaky very quickly and pulling away from the guys behind, who I also know are fairly good drivers, this says to me that the setup is working very nicely and that I'm driving very well at this stage here. And you can see we're just trying to keep it like a Scale Electrics, trying to hit the same point every single lap, making sure we have a fair amount of ERS in reserve, so only using it when we really have to, because I want to try and come out the pits as close to 100% as possible. So we're going to be thinking of pitting relatively soon, because you can see the softs are still maintaining quite a good pace at this stage here. But I might actually, although I'm just going to completely contradict myself, I might even think about going a little bit longer, because since I'm managing to maintain this pace to the soft runner in the lead, and I'm a lot faster than all the medium runners behind me, I felt pretty confident that when he would go on the mediums, I would actually be able to maintain that pace, or maybe even still pull away as well, despite having older mediums than him, if that makes sense, which I hope it did. So we're on to lap 7 now, so we're almost halfway through this race, so we're just going to continue trying to close down this gap as much as we can. The soft runner of Hamilton, we are coming into it slowly, but it's still showing that the softs are a very good tyre, but you can see how much we pulled away from the guys behind. And Freaky F1 is a good driver, so for me to be closing in on him at this rate of speed is pretty promising for me here. So we're driving very hard at the moment. I've said it before, and I think I said it in my Imola video, I always try and drive at about 90 to 95%, when it comes to races. So right here, I'm not driving like a qualifying lap where I'm giving it everything. I'm leaving a little bit of room on the table to avoid getting time penalties or track invalidations, and just keeping it consistent. I think the consistency is a very, very underrated, powerful thing, where although you might be sacrificing a little bit, in the long term, you will be going faster. So that's really my mentality when it comes to racing, or when I'm just trying to be good at anything here. But you can see we're closing in now quite a lot on Freaky F1. So the aim here was to try and get in this DRS zone by the end of this lap. So that's why you can see I'm using a bit more of the ERS now. And you'll probably see on this lap, if I can look at my mindset well, we're probably going to be using it a bit more towards the end, just to make sure we are within that DRS zone, which is very important. If we can get past him and use that DRS, use that advantage of that to close in on Hamilton even more, that would be very, very beneficial. In terms of the threat behind, they already have time penalties, and you can see we've actually pulled out 6 seconds as well. VRT Alfie does a 20.9, so showing that the new tyres, I presume he's on the soft, is very powerful as well. So we don't have to worry about people from behind, especially being held in the pits. That's something we don't need to fit. So now we've actually decided to even box this lap, because I know the softs are going to be pretty good to the end of the race, because Hamilton is still maintaining quite a decent pace as well. So I knew that there's no real point maybe going on that much longer, and I'm just only going to be held by Freaky F1 as well. I'm not really going to be close enough to overtake him into this turn 1, so I decided to actually go into the pit. So I'm just going to get an undercut on him, and Hamilton has actually stayed out as well here, so that has really worked in my favor. So I know the softs are going to be good for 7 laps, so I can push very, very hard. So we're going to bolt those on now, trying to get a quick pit stop. No risk of being held from anyone at all. It's a 2.5 second pit stop, when normally it's a 2.6, so even better. So we're going to come out the pits here. Are we going to come into any traffic? Yes, we are. So that's a little bit frustrating, but the guy ahead of me is on the medium tire. So luckily we got the DRS, because the guy Freaky ahead of us, he gave us the DRS before we came into the pits here. So we really got to try and get past Dripsy as soon as we can. And look at the power of these soft tires. An easy overtake. And you're about to see how fast these tires actually are. So the gap is 0.5 of a second, because we have just overtaken him. But you'll see, let's see what it is as we get to the start finish line. And you can see the gap is already a second. Just shows how much grip, how much traction, how much more you could push the car here. You can see gaining 0.6 off that corner alone. And we do a purple middle sector here, but if we do a good last sector, I presume we're going to do quite a good one. So we're not even going to be pushing that hard, because I know that I'm going to be undercutting Freaky F1 quite easily. And I know that Hamilton, when he comes out on the mediums, I presume, we're going to be much, much closer. And then I can just use all of the ERS once I start to get close to him. There's no point using it here now, because I know I'm going to get a big undercut already on those two guys. So as we come out the pits, you can see Freaky doing a purple last sector. We comfortably have undercutted him, and I felt I had more pace than him. But Hamilton up ahead is on the hard tyre, so he hasn't selected the mediums, which often, if you don't actually choose it on the MFD, if you just box, sometimes it defaults to the hard tyre strategy. So you really have to be careful there, and that means we should be closing in very, very quickly. You can see we gained about 3 seconds on the undercut. A Slapbus isn't in this race, I don't think, or he's just being very, very nice. But let's see how quickly we actually gain on Hamilton now. I think Felix hasn't actually pitted yet, so that's someone we don't have to worry about. And you can see Freaky is about 1.3 seconds behind on the fresher soft tyres. But as we saw with the mediums, I felt I had a little bit more pace than him. So even though he has fresher tyres, I felt quite confident that I should be able to pull away from him as well. So the gap to Hamilton is 5.2 seconds. The hard tyre is quite consistent, but we saw how much slower the mediums were around here than the softs. So the hards are going to be really struggling. So 4.8 seconds. Let's see what it is at the end of this lap here. Freaky is still 1.3 seconds behind, so I'm going to use a little bit of the ERS just to make sure he doesn't get within the DRS zone. And right now we are just driving just extremely well, and just with a lot of confidence. Feel very comfortable with the setup at this stage, making sure we hit these corners very nicely. And I think on this lap here we're actually going to go for a fastest lap, in fact. So coming through here, making sure we kiss this curb, use the curb on the exit. Next up I'll actually talk how I actually approach this track in terms of the corners itself. Coming through into here, we do a 2 green sectors here. Are we going to use the overtake? No, we don't. Actually, yes, we do on the exit. And you can see the gap has gone down 2 seconds this lap alone. And we've actually pulled out almost a second on the car behind. So lapping very quickly. I don't know if this will be quick enough for the fastest lap, because as I said, we're not pushing absolutely 100%. I'm just making sure we are not making mistakes and we're staying on track and going across the line. What's it going to be? It's a 21.0, so about a tenth slower than what Alfie did, but we weren't giving it the absolute maximum. So coming through into this corner, you can see turn 1, we managed to go through that quite nicely. I look for the black box just before I hit that. That's why I turn in, kissing this curb very nicely, aiming for this black box. Just before I get to it, I turn in there, making sure I avoid the curb on the inside. Flat out here, try and avoid the curb on the inside, run out on the exit. As you pass the black box, I break in a straight line, kissing this curb, run all over on the exit, stay nice and tight to minimize the distance of the track. As we hit the middle red board, that's where I brake. Miss the curb on the entry, but use all of it on the exit. This one is really about feeling quite most of the time. So I look for the black box. As I pass that, that's where I'll be turning in. I turned in a bit too early on this occasion. Really want to be going all over both of those curbs, because that really does actually help stabilize the car. I'm going to try and get within the DRS zone if I can, which the detection point has already passed, in fact, so we're not going to be able to do it. It's actually very early. A lot of people think it's going through this corner, which it isn't. So you can see we don't have the DRS, so I'm not going to be using any of the ERS here, because there is absolutely no point at this stage. Got a very comfortable gap to the car behind, and with the pace of these tyres and him being on the hards, then we are in absolutely no rush to overtake him here. So we're comfortably within the DRS zone now. Now it's just about making sure that we have enough ERS and we do the overtake at the right time. So going through here, you can see we're about 6 tenths down than we were on the previous lap, hitting these corners very nicely. We only have 1 warning so far as well. So coming through into here, you'll be able to see the difference in the traction. He actually has quite good traction, because the hard tyres, they're quite slow at the start, but they actually just get quicker and quicker as the race goes on. You can see we have about 18-20% wear on the rear left tyre here. See with the DRS we have a lot of straight line speed, so now this is why I wanted to overtake him on this next lap, because I don't really want to leave it for the last lap most of the time. So I'm going to try and get as close as I can here. See much more apex speed with these fresher soft tyres, really trying to get right up behind him. So we're not going to be using any overtake here, we're just trying to let him use the overtake so he wastes a little bit. So as we go through this turn 1, kissing us inside, use the curb on the exit. Now we are going to be using it here. No, we don't, in fact. So again, just letting him waste the ERS, because I felt I was close enough to even overtake him without the ERS. So right now I'm just trying to really just compromise his line, just try and let him waste his ERS as much as possible and put on him under quite a lot of pressure. Going through into here now, see, just making sure we don't get any track invalidations, just saving all the ERS for the last lap, because I was very confident in the pace of the tyre, but we actually go a bit deep here, and that's actually our second warning. So one more and we would actually be on level playing terms here. So coming through the chicane, trying to get a good exit coming off here. Do we get a good exit? Yes, we do. Still not using the overtake because I just want him to waste his. Does he go defensive? Yes, he does, but he defends really well. He doesn't defend fully on the inside, which means I can't use the space on the outside. So right here, I need to be very close, but I was very sure that I would have a lot more ERS than him at this stage, since he used quite a lot on the last lap to defend as well. So come up here, we're not actually that close. We're going to be using a little bit now just to try and get as close as we can for this exit of the turn 1. So come through into here after the black box, kissing this inside, using all the curb on the exit. Now we are going to be using it. Let's use the straight line speed. Let's force him to be super defensive. So we're just going to go around the outside of him here. Doesn't work, so we actually go for the switchback here, and then we actually make contact going off the track, and a bit of a shame, but he actually decides to let me go despite that being my fault. So as a sign of respect, the ultimate sign of respect, he doesn't want to let me go. So very good sportsmanship from him. This has actually brought back Freaky into play. So I always feel it's very important to try and respect your opponent as much as you can. So we actually get a big tap from behind as well. So that's really compromised us. So we want to win this race on track here, although we don't have a time penalty at this stage here. So our last chance is to go through this last chicane, try and get a really good exit here, and let's see what we can do. I don't think he has much ERS to defend with. He goes defensive, but we go around the outside here using the power of these soft tires. We get the move done. Fair play to him. He was being very sporting at the beginning of this lap, but going through the penultimate corner, I think we're one of the only cars that doesn't have a penalty as well. And then we do the last of us at Australia. GG to Hamilton and Freaky. Great racing from them and from everyone else as well. Sometimes respect is more important than the result, but we luckily managed to do both. So thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for the support on the channel, and I will be catching you very soon. Peace.